I want to sort of challenge everyone's mindset on this as well. I want to challenge everyone's mindset on remote and hybrid working. And if you rewind 3 years ago, the discussion about work from home was the employee justifying to the business why that person should work from home or should be allowed to work from home. Because there was some of it before COVID, but it certainly wasn't widespread. The situation now, it's completely the opposite. It's the business now justifying to its staff why they have to come to the office. And we sort of look at it and say, well, office days these days have to have a purpose. They can't just be a bum on a seat. It cannot just be about, I've got this nice office, I want everyone to come into it. There has to be a purpose. And if I can give a very simple explanation of how we do it at On Demand HR, we have 1 day a week where everyone is in, and that's purely for collaboration purposes. We have a lengthy team meeting, we have an account management meeting, we then break off into a number of one-on-ones throughout the day. We've got 7 of us now in the organisation. We then have a second day where only 2 or 3 of us attend, but that's focused on very technical collaboration. That's typically only a half a day anyway. So we sort of look at it and go, well, if I look at our arrangements right now, we've probably got a 1.5 days in the office, 3.5 days out. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you're going to have an office day, I think it's important to, first of all, make sure there's a purpose for it. Work out exactly what do you want to achieve on that office day. What's the purpose of people being in that office? What's the collaboration you want? What sort of things are you going to cover, and try and have a regular plan for that. The second thing I think it's really almost incumbent on employers to do now is to make office days fun. It's to make it something that is looked forward to, that collaborations look forward to. Put on lunch if you have to put on lunch. Make something about that day different to normal, and make it enjoyable for people when they do come in. And I'm not the work from home's greatest supporter, by the way. I just look at this and say, this is what's happening in the market. I'm probably somewhere in the middle, I would say. I sort of look at it and go, I think a lot of people are very effective at working from home. I also think there's a lot of people that are not self-motivated that are quite ineffective at working from home. And I reckon it falls, look, I think if you asked me 2 years ago, I reckon it'd be about 50-50. Some people are really good at doing it and others are not. It's probably a bit more than 50-50 now, because other people have learned how to work from home, learned how to be self-motivated. And I think the important thing these days is to not really focus on hours and what people are doing at home, but focus on results. Focus on the results. Focus on, well, what are the deliverables for that person in that particular role? Because it's very difficult for you to really be tracking time and hours, and time's a really dated way of looking at work anyway. And if your metric of whether or not someone's carried out a good day's work is to look at whether they've worked 7 hours and 36 minutes, well, that's a pretty basic way of looking at things. I've had clients that have talked about, we want to have tracking software on the computers so they tell us the level of activity that that they might do in this particular thing. And look, that might work for a very small number of occupations, but at large, I don't think when there's brains involved, when there's professional thinking involved, I don't really think that's really appropriate or necessary. It is actually, it's catching out one thing. It's probably catching out a number of ineffective supervisors and managers. Because when you've got people sitting around a table, or when you've got people sitting around an office, you can sort of see a little bit more of what's going on. But now, managers are really now required to really look at results, provide supervision in different ways, and some of them are just not that effective at doing that. So, results don't occur, things go on for a period of time, and supervisor may not be able to deal with those particular things. So, interesting dynamic, and I think important lesson for everyone is to really look at, well, what are your competitors offering? Are you falling behind your competitors? And if your competitors are offering this, well, don't necessarily even think, well, we'll just offer the same as our competitors. Well, can we differentiate ourselves? Can we put something to the market that's more attractive than what our competitors are offering? So if we can do that, fantastic. If the market's typically offering, 3-2 or 2-3, then Can we offer 4-1 or can we offer complete remote work? That's very attractive to some in terms of a job proposition. In terms of recruitment, again, can you tap into candidates that are currently in roles with poor flexibility? Certainly. Can you offer better than the market? Are the skills of your employees transferable to other industries offering flexibility? So this is another thing I talk about, is that when you look at competitors, don't necessarily look at, if you're an insolvency accountant, don't necessarily look at just other insolvency accountants. Look at, well, accounting more generally. If it's an office staff member, well, then you've got to really consider, well, all different types of white-collar jobs. If it's a marketing person, well, you're pretty much comparing yourself to anything white-collar. So look at not just the direct competitors, but the indirect competitors in terms of employment. And if I could just use one example, we've recently hired a recruitment coordinator at On Demand HR because of our process of recruitment is becoming very attractive. We're getting a lot of clients using it, and it's just unprecedented demand, obviously in 2022. And the one thing, we had a very structured process. So what we were actually just looking for is someone who was really, really good with customer service, who could speak to candidates, who could follow a set process and do those sorts of things. And the person we ended up hiring was actually a previous, they worked as basically a service coordinator. So they worked as a service coordinator in a trades environment. So that was an environment where that person was working, I think it was 5 days a week in the office. So it was very, very easy for us in the recruitment process to win that person over on the basis that they were coming to the office 1 day a week and they were working 4 days a week from home. So there's a classic example of where, that business, a trades business, would not consider a white-collar HR company to be a direct competitor, but they are, for the purposes of recruitment, well, we're an indirect competitor, even though the industries are completely different. So that's just an indication of how different some people may go to for certain roles, and how certain roles have adapted and how employers have adapted to the circumstances as well. Well, I think productivity, though, is results and outcomes, not hours. And that's where it is hard, because you've got a lot of employers that are in that mindset of, how do I know if my employees are doing their hours? But really what they should be thinking about is, well, what are the results and what are the outcomes they're getting from those employees? And that's about providing better supervision. Because what I would say, particularly in white collar work, I really do think the clock's ticking on this, and I think that the ones that don't adapt, and again, as I said before, I'm sort of in the middle on work from home. I'm not saying I'm a huge supporter or against it either, but what I can see that's inevitable is that the ones that keep the 5 day a week white collar style arrangements, I just don't see it lasting. It's not going to last, because it's just the 4% unemployment, competition, and then people will inevitably, unless that's what they want, unless they want to get out of the small apartment and come to the the city office, that's what we're going to see. And I think that over time, offices and businesses they'll inevitably have to downsize. They'll inevitably have to downsize their office arrangements. They'll either the big corporates will probably go from 4 offices in the city to 3 or 3 to 2. Well, I think as well, there's still a degree of employers hanging on. I still think there's been a shift in work from home, but the shift is not over. The shift is still happening. People are still sort of hanging on to this idea of, I've got to get them in for 3 days a week to use the office, but that 3 will become 2, will become 1, and then they're just going to have to keep downsizing. So for me, the transition is not over yet. The transition is still going on, and I see some employers who are stuck in that old way of thinking about these things, and unfortunately, they're the ones that we're seeing losing staff, not being able to replace them. We've got just a conversation we have with this is a really good one, actually, a really good case study. We've got a client that's in the meat industry. Okay, so they want an invoicing clerk to come on board. They want this person to work 5 days a week from the office, right? They want this person to work half day Saturday, paid as overtime, again from the office. And they also want this person to start, I think they want them to start at 5 in the morning, something like that as well. So you're going through the boxes on this role, for example, and you're going, okay, 5 days a week from the office, cross. Saturday work, and I don't mean to be sexist in any way, but it's probably more likely, just anecdotally and looking at this role, that applicants are more likely to be female than male for this role as well, which means, again, that's going to be even less likely that they're going to want to work probably Saturday for family commitments and things like that. So that's a cross. Saturday work across. 5 a.m. start, that's a cross. So, you're really looking at this, and the income they're offering is, well, it's probably market. But you could be an invoicing clerk in another company that allows you to work that role 4 days a week or 5 days a week from home. So that role in the market it's not very attractive. It's not very attractive. It's going to be very difficult to fill. So I have, I've challenged the clients. Well, some of them are stuck. Some of them are stuck on the whole system things. Oh, we can't do it. We can't do it. Well, you know what? You're going to have to do it. You're going to have to update and update your systems and adapt to the circumstances. Because if you don't adapt to the circumstances, it's not going to be good enough to say, well, our systems can't do it. Well, systems have got to, the tail shouldn't be wagging the dog. It's as simple as that. So they will have to change their mindset because, we're having difficulties with this, trying to find. That's a good idea, actually. They could do that. They could have 2-3 day a week people. That's certainly a possibility. But even with that, again, it's going to be 3 in the office, 3 in the office and the other 3 in the office. So it probably makes it slightly more marketable. But it's actually a good idea. I didn't think of splitting it in two roles of 3, but we might take that one back to Stephanie. But no, certainly, even with that, it's still not quite ticking that box of, the remote working in a role that's going to be remote in a lot of situations in the market. So, So anyway, that's it's here to stay, and it's not here to stay for health reasons. It's here to stay. It's here to stay because people don't want to commute. People want to be able to, save as much time as possible, and I think it will. It's not only is it here to stay. It's going to increase because competition will make it increase. The market always sorts these things out. It's like with everything, the market sorts these things out. If employer 1 offers this amount of money, employer 2 offers that, employer 3 offers that, that drives the price of salaries up. Same with work from home. If employer 1 offers this, employer 2 offers that, employer 3 offers that. And this is the whole thing interesting about COVID, whereas, this has driven remote working. And the market always adapts and people adapt to the circumstances that they're presented with. So that's certainly going to be here to stay, and I see it increasing. Does your business currently have a HR or workplace relations issue?
Are you unsure how to work through compliance issues but still achieve a good business outcome?
Why not take advantage of On Demand HR's free 30-minute online consultation with an experienced HR consultant?
At the end of the consultation, we also provide you with a strategic action plan to resolve your current issues.
To see the types of matters we can help with and to schedule your consultation, please visit ondemandhr.com.au/advice.
We look forward to delivering certainty, confidence, and clarity for your business in your HR and workplace relations affairs.